You have your armies. You have your ships. You have your dragons. Everything you've ever wanted since you were old enough to want anything. It's all yours for the taking. Are you afraid? Good. You're in the great game now. And the great game is terrifying.
Most of us expected the season finale of Game of Thrones to reveal that Jon Snow's mother was not some tavern wench, but Ned's sister Lyanna. And we also figured that she was carrying Rhaegar Targaryen's child. But this, ever so quietly, confirmed what we have long believed, that Jon Snow is not a bastard. It's hard to make out what she whispers in Ned's ear as a first name. Our guess is Aerys. But one thing that is true is that his last name has way too many syllables to be Snow. It sounds almost certainly like Targaryen, the name you'd give a true-born son, which would confirm our theory that Lyanna and Rhaegar married before he died.
Last episode, in the lead-up to the battle, Davos and Tormund were certain about one simple fact.
Jon Snow's not a king. No, he's not.
Wrong. Jon Snow is a king.
And I will stand behind Jon Snow. The king in the north!
Inheritance is passed through the line of the firstborn. Rhaegar was the firstborn of the king, who was also named Aerys.
Burn them all!
That means all of Rhaegar's children would come before Rhaegar's siblings, aka Viserys and Daenerys. Also, the mountain killed Rhaegar's other children. So if Rhaegar did take Lyanna as a second wife in secret, then when Jon was born, he was already the true king of Westeros because his grandfather, his father, and his older siblings were all dead.
We're forcefully reminded in many ways this episode that one of the most important duties of a lord, and especially a monarch, is to produce heirs, so that there's no struggle over succession. Loras reminds us,
I will renounce my lordship and my claims on Highgarden. I will never marry. And I will never father children.
Olenna reminds us,
Cersei stole the future from me. She killed my son. She killed my grandson. She killed my granddaughter. Survival is not what I'm after now.
And, of course, Jon's very existence reminds us. I can't help but notice that in this episode we have one king and two queens who are declaring their rights to the throne, and the one thing all three have in common is they are not going to have children.
Cersei may technically still be able to have kids, but after watching her first three die, she's not going to be up for a fourth. Also, the only person she'd likely be willing to have kids with is staring daggers at her at show's end, mostly because she did the one thing he sacrificed his honor to stop, the burning of a bunch of King's Landing.
Daenerys speaks to Daario about needing to get married, which is all good and well, but there's a good reason to believe that when she unwittingly sacrificed her unborn baby to try to bring Drogo back, that destroyed her future fertility.
How did my son die?
He never lived, my princess. The women say.
What do the women say?
They say the child was...
monstrous. I pulled him up myself. I warned you that only death can pay for life.
She is the mother of dragons, but probably not of future kings or queens.
Jon's technically undead, and while we can't be sure, I bet if there's a book somewhere in that massive Maester's library covering the sex life of the undead, it would say that zombies can't have babies.
As we noted last week, the great houses seem to be dying, and this episode underlined and bolded this theme by having Walder Frey eat his own sons before he is killed off for good. Winter is here and bringing the undead who intend to kill everyone, but it seems the humans on this show are doing a fine job of snuffing out their families on their own.
Winter is bringing more than cold weather. It's bringing an icy chill to the spirits of several characters, too. First, Dany is surprised at how little she cares about letting Daario go.
Do you know what frightens me? I said farewell to a man who loves me. A man I thought I cared for. And I felt nothing. Just impatient to get on with it.
Cersei's always been a bit monstrous, but she really levels up this episode, becoming the Mad Queen sitting on the throne her own family threw the Mad King out of. She can barely be moved to care about her own son's suicide.
Burn him. Bury his ashes where the sept once stood.
But for me, the most chilling part was her leaving Septa Mordain to be tortured by the Mountain, as her walking away from her former tormentor with a smile on her face is a direct echo of Sansa doing the same thing last episode.
Arya didn't just get revenge on the Freys, she cooked them into a pie.
You ever heard about the rat cook? When the king was visiting the Nightfall, the cook killed the king's son, cooked him into a big pie with onions, carrots, mushrooms, and bacon. That night, he served the pie to the king.
Frey pies! A delicious inside joke for book readers, but a grim reminder for all of us that Arya is now a scary, ice-cold killer.
Cersei, Arya, Sansa, Dany, they, like Olenna and Ilaria, are so bent on revenge that one could say their hearts have turned to stone. When you're this consumed with the desire for revenge, there's only one thing left to live for.
Fire and blood.
People might make fun of Varys' ability to teleport from one end of the world to the other. Littlefinger's got nothing on him. But we should take Varys' presence on Dany's ships at the end as a sign of two things. One, he brought Dorne's fleet to Dany and joined it to hers. And two, that means months may have passed before the final shot.
Who knows what condition Daenerys is going to find Westeros in when she gets there. She barely has to set it on fire since Cersei did that for her.
One thing's certain, dragons and White Walkers are on a collision course. Will Dany and Jon be friends, enemies, or lovers when they meet?
We'll find out next season on House Slate.